Hello everyone, this is Serious Trivia. Welcome to another patch rundown video for patch 1.5, and today we'll be covering the new title system that's implemented in with the patch. So jumping right into the video to try to keep things a little bit shorter, we have the new character titles. So this is a system that was made to add some adjustments to the character title system for the Han and Bandit factions. With this new system, instead of just promoting every general through a ranking system, you can now choose certain characters to give title to sort of promote that character and increase their satisfaction, as well as adding other potential effects to them. And I will be running down the list of all the titles that's available in the game, add a little bit of lore to wherever they have some historical titles. I'll talk about them a little bit, and also talk about their in-game effect to see how we can utilize them in-game. In general, these titles will increase the character's salary and will also increase the satisfaction or remove desire for higher office entirely. And there are other additional benefits. For example, from the patch note, we can see that General who gives tranquility to the north will be unlocked after you conquer 5 regions north of Yellow River. It will cost you 200 gold per turn in terms of character salary, and add 10 expertise to the character, 20 satisfaction, 5% campaign movement range when commanding, and 5% speed for own retinue. And there's another example, but since we're going to be going over every one, there's no point to read that. And since the old ranking system is removed, CA did warn us that we need to make sure we check with certain character satisfaction level when we recruit them, and to use titles to keep them happy. So it's very similar to the old system, since these titles do make you add character salary and add satisfaction to keep them happy. But it's a huge improvement, because not only do you have more control over it, the benefits is more direct. Previously, you're just clicking a button, it adds 25 flat character salary per turn, as well as a lump sum payment that's 400 multiple. So like the first rank up will cost you 400, the second one will cost you 800, and each level gives you 20 points of temporary satisfaction, as well as 5 points of permanent satisfaction. It just wasn't very rewarding that all your generals had these similar titles. Now you have something very unique that you could call each general, and it reflects history a little bit, because these titles were given out to generals and other officers in your court. So jumping ahead into the title, going in the order that is provided in the game, we start with the Dragon Warriors. So there's 4 different ones here: Coil Dragon, Yellow Dragon, Blood Dragon, Earth Dragon, and all of them are provided here. They will all add 200 character salary. They will add a different stat: Resolve, Expertise, Instinct, and Authority, 15 points of each. They will all just reduce penalty from desire from higher office. So not eliminate, these reduce. So it's a similar effect to some of the traits you might have. And each of them gives a corresponding bonus that's related to kind of their requirements to unlock, as well as the stat class that they provide. For example, the Coil Dragon will unlock after you have a single general win 2 duels in 1 battle. And at that point, whoever you give this title to will gain 15 points of resolve, which increases health, and also increase 20% additional health on top. So you can definitely give this to one of your more powerful champions that you use to duel, to give them a huge health pull advantage in the battle. And since dueling, you heal off of your percentage health, is 25% if you win the duel, and 50% if you win the duel within the time allowed in the basically there'll be a timer whenever you enter into a duel, and there's different rewards. So since it's percentage heal, you could get huge heal amounts, a lot of value if you add this on. Or you can maybe add it on to a general who has a very low health pool, maybe one of your Vanguard generals who might rout if they run out of health, and you can give them a lot more health by adding resolve stats and 20% extra health on top. Now for Yellow Dragon, it's more of an expertise bonus, and you unlock this by killing 5 Yellow Turban characters in duels. The easiest way to unlock this will probably be through rebel farming, because not every starting date would have a lot of Yellow Turban characters available, and even those with Yellow Turban, let's say in the 190, you're probably not going to get into 5 different duels with Yellow Turban characters. So if you want to unlock this one, the best way is to get rebel farming going by decreasing your public order. And this one, other than the 15 points of expertise, gives you 5 melee damage on your own retinue. It's a flat damage increase, which is often pretty good. It could be underrated. Often you see these, 20% increase. Well, most damage value are only around, 20. So 20% increase is only about 4. So this is quite good to have a flat increase, especially on units, with high amount of armor piercing melee damage, but very low flat base melee damage. And, you get 25% increase on like 7, and you barely get like 2 points. So this is definitely great. Blood Dragon requires your general to have killed 600 or more soldiers personally. This doesn't include like poison effect from poison volley, but hail of arrow would count. So those who get poison killed don't get counted on your general. You can easily check this by clicking on your general in the battle to see how many they have killed. And this will increase 15 points of instinct and also enables terror, since people are going to be afraid of you since you're a monster for killing 600 soldiers on the battlefield. Earth Dragon requires you to win a battle where your side and your allies lose 200 or fewer men, and the enemy must have at least 8 units. 8 units by unit card, so a general will be a unit card. A general with a full retinue will be 7 units, so you will need another one. It's not very hard. A lot of garrisons have at least 8 units. If you fight one of these clean sieges with just a garrison, you can unlock this one. It gives 15 points of authority and also immune to scaring on your entire retinue. It's pretty decent. These 4 are probably not going to be your go-to satisfaction decrease, because the reduced penalty from desire from higher office basically lowers you by a tier. And I believe each tier is about 12 to 24 points of satisfaction. I can't recall, but I think it's always in a multiple of 12. So it's not like what you want directly to make your character happy, which is often what I think when I think about titles. But maybe you should change that mindset, because as we run through this patch note, we're going to see a lot of different titles providing a lot of combat or administrative boost that you would just want on your characters, regardless they're happy or not. So moving on, we have Men of Merit. Now, these are your traditional ones. These 7 that's listed here are the ones that was in the old title system. They're basically generic names for different type of roles. And I listed them out by cost and satisfaction boost. And these are all unlocked at the beginning of the game. So you have access to these right away. You have 3, Orator, Attendant, and Patrol Commander, that costs 100 per turn and gives you 15 satisfaction for that value. And then you have Senior Officer and Chief of Records, that's 200 costs for 25 satisfaction. So there's a little bit of depreciation there. It's not linear. You're paying twice as much, but you're not getting the 30, you're getting 25. So consider using the Orator, Attendant, and Patrol Commander first, if that 15 can get you over the hump, maybe from being red to orange, because it's going to give you less and less value as you go up. And then finally you have General-in-Chief and General Commander, which costs you 400 and gives you 40. Once again, you see a similar decrease in value, as it's not a linear progression. You're paying 4 times as much as Orator, but you're getting only about 2.6 times the value of satisfaction there. So these are very generic. Moving on, we have the Incorruptible Officials. There's 5 of these. These are more of your clerk roles, and you have stuff like Steward of the Changle Palace. Changle means eternal happiness or eternal joy, and it's one of the palaces in the capital. And so I just kind of placed them by their stat boost. The top 2, Master of Writing and Steward of Changle Palace, boost Cunning, and the 3 on the bottom boost Expertise. So I'll go through them one by one. Master of Writing here, at the start of your turn, you have 10 non-aggression, military access, or trade agreement active. So any combination of those 3, as long as you have 10 combined deals of those types active, you unlock this one. And it stays unlocked after that point. You can decrease the number of deals after that point. And what it will give you is you pay 100, you get 10 satisfaction, 10 points of cunning on the character, plus 5% character experience gain, and plus 4 public order in the administrative commandery. So this is obviously something you might want on one of your strategist administrator who might be also on the battlefield, where the experience boost and cunning would also help out. The public order was definitely good if you have some sort of commerce and peasantry commandery that you're trying to boost with high population now that boosts a lot of income. So you want to balance that out with some extra public order. It doesn't cost you very much. We'll also talk about the cost factor of these at the very end of the video because I have a different take on it. And moving on, the Steward of Changle Palace. Here we're getting 10% commerce boost in Minister Commandery, also the 10 points of cunning, but 15 points of satisfaction, all for 100 character increase. And all you have to do is have a projected income of 3,000 or more at the start of your turn. So this is your income per turn at the beginning. So maybe, in the beginning of the game, you could just disband all your units, and you pretty much have a pretty high salary in the beginning if you just have generals, and you hit that 3,000, and you can unlock it from the beginning. Now, obviously, you want this in a commerce-heavy administrator's hand. It doesn't even have to be a strategist. It could be your sentinel who is in industry and commerce commandery, maybe Nanhai or Changsha with the tea and trade port and inn and harbor. If you get that combination going and you put this in, Zanke is another great one, and then you can get another 10% out of it from your administrator by having this title. Moving on, you have Doctor who prevent disaster. The requirement is you have 5 characters healed after suffering wounds or win a duel with a character who has the scar trait. So there are 2 different conditions here. Healed after suffering a wound is basically have a resiliency character get knocked out and then they bounce back after a turn. That's a heal after suffering a wound. And sometimes you actually get a wound or have someone who has the scar trait already win a duel. So in both sense, you have 5 instances of that happening. You unlock this one. You get 10 expertise plus 1 extra layer of resiliency plus 10 satisfaction and plus 4 population growth. So you definitely want this in any of your commanderies now that population boosts all income, and the expertise makes it cheaper to construct. Satisfaction is all be a great bonus. Resiliency is good on characters who don't have resiliency to begin with, or character who only have 1 layer of resiliency to begin with. Because I really think it's overkill if you put it on someone who's like a legendary character who's above level 4. At that point, you already have 2 layers of resiliency. Are you really going to try to kill your character, 4 times within like 5 turns to burn through all their resiliency and heal back and get them killed? It's kind of unthinkable at that point. And moving on, we have attending secretary. So here, all you need to do is have 20k gold sitting in your treasury. When you get to that point, you get this unlock for title. You get 10 points of expertise, which is great for administrators. You get 15 points of satisfaction, which, it counteracts each other because most of your administrators are not going to be unhappy with you simply because they're not going to have any desire for higher office until rank 4. It resets. So rank 4 for them is like rank 0. Every rank above, they start getting a little bit more, dissatisfied with you. But you do get 10% from industry. So commanderies like Taiyuan, Jianye, Poyang, those are all good ones for this one. And then next one, you have director of astronomy, and you need to win 3 battles with a character present who has the superstitious trait. So another use for the superstitious trait other than triggering random event. So if you just put someone with this trait inside an army, have them go win 3 battles. They don't even have to command the army. You unlock this one. And this increases peasantry income by 10%. So this is great because if you think about it, the key to farming is knowing the seasons. And the Chinese have a very lunar calendar, and it's divided into 24 different seasonal segments to help guide agriculture, like when to plant, when to harvest. And that all depends on, looking at the stars and looking at the moon to get that cycle going. So putting it on a director of astronomy makes a lot of sense. And you get 5% range block chance for melee cavalry on top of it, which I feel like it's a weird connection there, but okay. Maybe you want this on a commander because you have the nobility skill that adds 20%, and then this adds another 5. So maybe your melee cavalry will go all the way up to, I believe, 65 plus 25, 90% range block chance just by having this ability, and then 50% missile resistance on top of that. So you're pretty much invulnerable to enemy archers at that point. But it's a pretty neat combination here. But you probably be wasting it because you don't want to put this great 10% income from peasantry on a commander, which probably wouldn't be your administrator. So in all sense, you probably want this on a champion who can help you boost the income in the in the commandery that they're administrating, but then they wouldn't have any benefits from melee cavalry. So it's kind of weird. Maybe you want to use this, for the army portion for the 5% range block chance, or for the peasantry. I still strongly believe it's better on the administrator because melee cavalry don't need another 5%. They have a lot already. So that's the Incorruptible officials. Moving on, we have protectors of the army. So this part is where the historical lore comes in, because some of these titles are actually pretty accurate. So General of the Left, General of the Front, General of the Right. These are tier 3 general titles. They were often given out during the Han Dynasty. Top tier generals would be your Grand Commandant, 大将军, and then or 太尉. They're 三公 level. So 太尉 usually is more of an administrative role. 大将军 is the one who's actually leading the army. And if there is actually a war and you actually call someone 大将军, then 太尉 would listen to him. That's like kind of a tier 1 general, basically grand commander, something like that. Grand commandant's more of a administrative role in that sense. And then the second tier general after him would be what you have is 骠骑将军, 车骑将军, and 卫将军. So those would actually be your general of the guards and general of the chariots and general of the cavalry. So generals of chariots and cavalry, you see at the bottom here, should actually be 2 different general titles. So there should be a separate general of the chariot, which is 车骑将军, and there should be a general of the cavalry, which is 骠骑将军, and then 卫将军, which is general of the guard. These are typically your tier 2 generals. There should be, in terms of their rank, they're on par with Grand Commandant in times of war. They all fall under 大将军, who is, the Grand Commander of the army. And then one level under that is where you have generals like General of the Left, General of the Front, General of the Right. It's not necessarily saying that they take care of like the left flank of the army you're in. Is that whole unit is called the left army, and the right army and the front army. It's just how it's called. And there should be a central army, but they're not using that here. The other ones you see here, like General who stands his ground, General of unfailing aim, exterminate adversary who scales the wall, are just more flashy titles that the game added in. It's not actually like a historical ranking. If you go for like historical general ranking after you have your center, left, front, and right, the next tier down would be like generals who is stationed in the north, general who's stationed in the west, general who's stationed in the south, like those directional. And to be like stationed would be 正南将军, 正北将军. And then if you're pacifying the north, pacifying the south, pacifying the west, then you're called 征东将军, 征西将军. That's a tier after the ones that are stationed there. And then if you are, just going there to expand 征西将军, 征北将军, those are a tier under the pacify level. It's sometimes the translation is hard to match up, but that's kind of the tier structure of generals in the Han Dynasty. So here in the game, you start out with General of the Left and General of the Right unlocked for you. And just going the same order that's provided on the list, General of the Left gives your whole army recruitment cost minus 5%. That's pretty big. You can easily give this to a general whose army you're trying to recruit to get this bonus, and then remove it. Removing a promotion will lose you 10 points of satisfaction. So if you have a pretty loyal general who can afford to take that hit, that will go away in about 5 turns. It'll decrease by 2 every turn. Then you should definitely consider doing that, because 5% and then what amount of instinct you have and other bonuses would add up to save you quite a bit of gold if you're flushing out a whole new army right away. And it'll also add 10 points of resolve if you want to use that. And if you feel like you can comfortably eat the 100 increase in salary, then just leave it on. But this is probably better rotationally because this is a discount that you only will use once, but the cost that will be applied over and over again per turn. And moving on, you have general off the front. This requires you to win a battle where 35 units participate, not counting general. So here we're just talking about retinues unit cards. So each general would have 6 max. So in one army you would have 18 max. So over 35, basically 36, would mean both sides have full stacks, or you have multiple armies entering into the fight from one side. Then you can get this number over. So basically full battles, right? Or overflow battles where you have reinforcement army coming in, or garrisons coming in during a siege that can also easily push you over the total max amount. But this will cost you 200 per turn. It will add 10 instinct, 15 satisfaction, and when commanding, 2 morale when attacking. The bonuses aren't so outstanding. So if your whole purpose is to get the satisfaction, you're better off going to the orator page because you're only paying 100 for 15. But if you want a little extra bonus for morale and instinct, maybe go with this one, pay extra for that. Basically, you're paying extra 100 for the stat boost and the morale increase, which is similar to like a skill level on a general. So think of it as a combination of paying for satisfaction and paying 100 per turn for extra level on your general, because you can get like a skill that gives you +2 morale when attacking when commanding, and also the skill level will carry some stat boosts as well. So next you have commanders who scale city walls. You have to just win 10 siege battle as attacker to get this unlocked. And this one's pretty interesting because the boost is 10 points of instinct, enables flaming shot, but only for own retinue, right? And also increase the rate of wall and settlement damage during siege when commanding. So ideally, this would go on a strategist character who might be starting out on the right side of his skill tree, right? So that he has reach, so that you have him as your commanding general, but he doesn't have flaming shot's resourcefulness unlocked yet. So maybe he started with the right side of the active skill and worked his way to reach and patience, but didn't unlock resourcefulness for flaming shot. And you give him this. The instinct is pretty much a wash because you're not going to use your strategist to fight, but you basically get resourcefulness unlocked for flaming shot on the trebuchets, and you will do more damage when sieging. But that's also kind of contradicting each other, because if you have flaming shot and trebuchets, you're likely to not siege. You're likely to trigger the fight on the first turn, right? So it's kind of either war, right? Because you're not going to spend time sieging to do more damage to the walls. You'll just be jumping into a fight. I guess in the case where you will siege, it will benefit you, but the instinct's kind of a wash. But it's pretty interesting to see how they design these. And then moving on to the 6 remaining one. General of the right is also a free one that you get, similar to General of the left. This one, 10 points of authority, 10 points satisfaction, costs only 100, 5% retinue upkeep, own army. This is great to put on someone like your leader. Or I don't even know, leader, can leader get titles? I'm not sure. Maybe your heir then. Whoever is in that first army you get in the beginning of the game, you can consider using this. You can easily check your treasury to see how much your first starting army cost, and you can do a very simple math to see if the 5% revenue upkeep is worth the value of your 100 character salary. I think all it takes is 2,000 gold, right? 2,000 gold is a wash for this. So if your whole army costs you 2,000 upkeep, then definitely add this one in. It'll do you no harm. You get all the benefits, and this is one that you want to keep on that army going forward, unlike the general of the left, which you might want to shuffle a bit. So going on next, you have general who exterminates adversaries, win 100 battle. So you're not going to get this till pretty late, but this is great. You get no desire for higher office. It will cost you 400. Sounds scary, but late game, when you after fight 100 battles, 400 per turn doesn't hurt. And then the other thing I wanted to say earlier was a lot of character salary reduction is by percentage, similar to corruption percentage, right? So if you get like minus 25 salary here, minus 20 here, minus 10 here, then it's a percentage decrease. So if you have a sum like 50% decrease in character salary, then this 400 will just go down to 200, right? So you actually get more discount on this higher value one than, let's say, 100 salary increase, which will only decrease by 50. It's saving you 50 versus saving you 200. So you actually get more value out of these when you have any sort of character salary reduction going on in your faction. But this one basically gives you no desire for higher office, which is same tier as all your heir, prime minister, and leader. They basically don't think about desire for higher office at all. You get terror, you get 5% melee attack rate on own retinue. It's pretty good, but it's very hard to get. General of unfailing aim. Win 10 battles with generals that have 6 archer units in their retinue. This is pretty hard to get if you're playing pretty traditional, if you have strategists that have siege weapons and archers together, or maybe even crossbow, which probably doesn't count. But the easiest one to get is early on, if you're spamming archer militia, just have a general spam archer militia, fight 10 battles with them, and then you get this one unlocked. Costs you 200, 20 satisfaction, which is great value, and 10 because you get 10 cunning on top of that. You get 5% range firing rate, which is super underrated. Firing rate is a very good stat to boost, and you get 50% line of sight, which is kind of weird bonus, but overall I think this one's super worth, and you can put it on any of your strategists in any of your armies. Next one is general who stands his ground. Win a defensive settlement battle. So this isn't kind of in your hand. This depends on the AI. If the AI decides to siege you and launch a defensive battle and you can fight one, then you can easily get this. If the AI never give you this opportunity, you can't kind of force it. It's not in your own hand. But you basically pay 200, you get 10 resolve back, 15 satisfaction, and 3 morale for own army. You don't have to be the commander here for that, so that's pretty nice. 3 morale is also a premium now, since all the morale bonuses are usually lowered to 2. Next, we have General of the Guards. Win 10 battles with generals that have 6 infantry melee unit in their retinue. So that's not super hard. You have a lot of generals that will end up with 6 infantry melee unit as their retinue. You get charge reflect for own retinue, 15 satisfaction, no stats, and also 2 morale when defending, when commanding, and it'll cost you 200. The no stat kind of suck, considering everything else so far has gotten stat, and it also sucks that General of the Guards and General of the Chariot and Cavalry, who I have told you guys at the beginning is like a tier 2 general level, very high level generals in the Han army, and both of them have no stat. And they're the only ones with, well, they're not the only ones with no stat. General who exterminate adversary also have no stat, but that one at least had no desire for higher office, which is wonderful. But anyways, this one, basically it's great on generals who are running, honestly, spear units. And commanders, champions. Champion with spear unit. So usually you see spear units, you think, oh, they have charge reflect. Scratch that. It's great on generals who are running sentinels with shield melee infantry, because you have charge negate already. Right? You have charge negate on these units, so they take no damage from cavalry charges, but they don't reflect any damage back. The spear unit's opposite. They reflect the damage back, but they don't absorb any damage. So they take the full charge damage on themselves. So if you see like a G militia take a full charge, you lose a lot of men, but the cavalry kind of dies. So if you have a combination of both charge negate and charge reflect on the unit, that's like the ideal setup, right? So here, if you have your sentinel units who already have charge negate because of a skill from, I think, bravery skill from the general, and then you add charge reflect to own retinue, then you become sort of, the premium spear anti-cavalry unit, especially given how cavalry has increased their speed in this patch, that now you can both charge reflect and charge negate on one unit. So that's kind of great there. Generals of chariots and cavalry requires you to have 6 cavalry units, 10 battles to unlock, only costs 100. And it reduces penalty from desire for higher office, so basically lowers it by a tier. I think it's a multiple of 12. And then you cost 20% recruitment cost for cavalry units for this army, and 10% upkeep cost for shock cavalry. So this is something else you got to keep in mind when you're playing around how to get free cavalry again after the patch. They nerfed all the horse pastures, but I think it's still possible, because there's still a lot of generals that reduce upkeep, and especially cavalry upkeep. And this is another way they can add another 10% on top of that. Now, fielding completely free cavalry faction-wide is probably not going to happen again, unless you somehow collect all the rebel group, the Liang rebel group, like 北宫博玉, Wang Guo, Han Sui, Ma Teng, Ma Chao. They still have Qiang cavalry or cavalry cost reduction for upkeep, and you have all of them in your court, then you could still probably do it with the horse pastures. But this is another way to help like one unit to have premium cavalries that are free upkeep. All right, so these are all the generals. Moving on, we have the infamous bandits. These are more fun. There's a little extra lore here. So first, Ox Horn General and Flying Swallow General all refers to Zhang Yan's origin story. So Zhang Yan's original name was Chu Yan, I believe. And Yan, the word Yan itself means swallow. And Zhang Yan's nickname in the army was always the Flying Swallow because he moved really nimbly and really fast. So that was his nickname. At the start, he worked under someone named Zhang Niujiao. Zhang Niujiao, so Zhang was his surname, Niujiao translates to ox horn. So this guy, his commander for the bandit group, died in a battle. And before in his dying breath, he passed on the unit to Chu Yan, to Zhang Yan basically. And Zhang Yan, to thank him, took on his surname. So he became from Chu Yan to Zhang Yan. So kind of the Oxhorn general died and passed on the last name to the Flying Swallow general. And that's why we know Zhang Yan as his name right now. So he kind of changed his last name from that experience. So both of these kind of relate to him. Gold cover thief, I believe the Chinese translation for it is Jin Yi Zei. I think that's what they're calling it. And I think the only reference to this is Gan Ning, who dressed really well as a pirate. So I'm not sure. Other than that, I don't know. I think it's Gan Ning related. And Pacifier of the Han is a weird title to put here. It sounds like a bandit thing, but it's actually an army thing. Because I think Pacifier of the Han is 折冲将军. So it's actually a title. It's translated weird. And the first person who actually created this title was Wang Mang, who created the Xin dynasty in between the Western and the Eastern Han dynasty. So the Han dynasty had a break, right? You had a Western portion where the capital was Chang'an. Then a regent named Wang Lang took over and kind of started his own dynasty for a little bit called the Xin dynasty. And he created a title called 折冲将军. So it's basically just another general title. And I guess they're translated to the pacifier of the Han. So I guess because the regent started his new dynasty. And then afterward, when it became the Eastern Han dynasty again, this general title stuck. And then during the Three Kingdoms time, under Cao Cao's faction, Yue Jin, who was also a unique general in the game, had this title for a little bit. And for Wu, Gan Ning had this title for a little bit. So maybe because Gan Ning had it, so they put it here. So basically you have Oxhorn and Flying Swallow related to Zhang Yan, and you have Pacifier of the Han and the Gold Cover Thief related to Gan Ning. So what do they do in the game? So for Oxhorn General, you have to have 6 pikemen unit in a general with win 10 battles. So I'm guessing polearm, so green units. And then you're going to get 10 resolve, 15 satisfaction, 5% armor for all spear infantry. So it's pretty good on any champion who's running spear infantry. Flying Swallow, win an ambush battle. So that's very Zhang Yan related there. You get 20% extra chance of ambushing, caltrops, 10 satisfaction, 10 cunning. 10 cunning maybe for the hidden axes or something, because they do have some ammo on them, even though they're impossible to use on ambush battle. You can still do it, I know, but it's just, I have a thing against ambush battles. Pacifier of the Han, capture 20 settlements from factions that belong to the Han Chinese subculture. So anyone who's not Yellow Turban, I believe, is considered Han Chinese subculture. And then when you capture them, you get no desire for higher office for only 100 salary increase, which is great. 10 authority, 5 charge bonus for own retinue. Gold covered thief, 10 cunning, 20% post-battle loot income, which is great. That's underrated. That's going to pay for yourself many times over for the 100 character salary. But the thing is, you need to have gained 15,000 gold from capturing, raiding, and sacking cities. So it's going to be super easy to get this as a bandit faction, but as any other faction, it will take you a little bit of time, I believe. But that's why these are infamous bandit titles. Okay, so moving on from this group, we have generals who support the state. So moving on from bandits to generals who support the state. General of the standard. So I guess this could be the central army title, right? 中军大将. So this is kind of the standard army maybe. General of heavenly benevolence. General who support the Han. General who smash the catif. Okay, so going with generals who support the Han first. We have to win 10 battles against factions belonging to the Yellow Turban subculture. Okay, that's not too hard if you're farming rebels or if you're playing like Mandate of Heaven. You get 10 authority, 15 satisfaction, 1 wooden stake, pre-battle deployables, which is weird because Yellow Turbans don't have cavalry, or they do have some cavalry now, but before they had really few cavalry. +5 diplomatic relationship with Han factions faction-wide if they're one of your leadership roles. That would make sense because you're getting authority here, so that might play out pretty nicely. General of the standard, win 10 decisive or heroic battles. Okay, decisive is not hard. Winning 10 heroic might be very difficult, the way the game judges victories. You get 5% range damage, 10 authority, 15 satisfaction. Generals of heavenly benevolence. Occupy 15 settlements with a present character who has honorable, gracious, or humble. Okay, that's something just got to keep in mind. I think Liu Bei's faction would have an easy time because Guan Yu is honorable. I think Liu Bei is humble. Basically, you get +5 public order and local commandery if you're present, I believe. It's not administrative. As long as you're standing there, you get +5 public order and you get reduced penalty for higher office. General who smashed the catif, you win 10 battles against faction belonging to the bandit subculture. Oh, so the bandits are not considered Han subcultures. Interesting. Okay. That's fine. So correction from before about the Han subculture. It's basically non-bandit, non-yellow turban. And here, as you defeat 10 of them, and you get 1 extra oil pre-battle deployables, 5% melee damage overall to the faction. If you are Prime Minister Arrow faction leader, that could be strong. That could be pretty strong. 10 authority and 15 satisfaction. So these seems to be pretty interesting. A good mix of different things. Can't really summarize them. Just take them at individual value. They're all great value too, because they all only cost 100 and they all give you about 15 satisfaction. So moving on from them, we have generals who subdue the world. So these are tier 4 generals. We talked about tier 3, 4, 5, depending on how they phrase it, right? So like if you're stationed there, then you're higher tier. If you're going there to pacify it, you're a little lower tier. And if you're going there to expand, you're even a little lower tier. But I think the game is not using like the word is too kind of, it's hard to translate those words from Chinese to English directly. But anyways, they're doing the north, the central, and the south, divided by the 2 rivers. The Yellow River divides the north and the center, and the Yangtze River divides the center and the south. And all of these cost 200. They provide some sort of stat boost. So the north provides you 10 expertise, 20 satisfaction, 5% campaign movement range when commanding, which is great, 5% speed for own retinue, which is also pretty good. So especially good if you have a vanguard commander commanding, right, with reach. You move farther, your cavalry can go faster, and you get a little extra melee evasion for maybe winning duels. General who expands the central is 15 resolve, 20 satisfaction, 3% replenishment for own retinue only, which is really weird because basically your own retinue in that army will get faster replenishment rate. General who pacify the south, +5 military supplies. So I'm assuming if you unlock this as a bandit faction, you will have +5 loot in the own army, and 10 instinct as well. So pretty standard, these 3. Moving on, we have the more mythical group, the final one, the Lords of Elements. General who calms the wave, Iron General, Lord of Thunder, Protector of the 3 realm, which is like completely mythical, right? I think the 3 realm is referring to like the God realm, the human realm, and like the underworld realm, and the Master of the Hunt. So let's just talk about what they do in game. Starting with General who calms the wave. Win a battle where 60% or more of your army consists of range units, minimum 10 units in your army. So this is something I would unlock right away because I run like heavy range composition armies. Cost you 400, you get Resolve, you get Cunning, no desire for higher office, +1 tower pre-deployable in land battle, which is amazing. Towers does the most, I believe, in all the deployables. And then 5% range firing rate. Looks pretty good to me. Nothing wrong with this one. No desire for higher office sounds very good. It does cost a lot, but like we said, if you get any sort of percentage character salary decrease, 400 is actually not so bad. Iron General, win a decisive or heroic defensive battle. So this would be like using like a lumberyard trick when you get attacked and you fight like a heroic defense battle, where you get a lot of draws and finally wipe them out. Not too hard. Other than if that's not the case, then you just have to fight a really nice garrison defensive battle to get like a decisive victory, maybe at a mine or something like that. You get 10 expertise, 10 cunning, 5% armor on own retinue, reduced penalty from desire for higher office. Lord of Thunder, win a battle where enemy has twice as many units as you. Enemy must have more than 8 units. So run your 3 generals into some sort of garrison and you can easily get Lord of Thunder, right? You run like 3 generals into like a level 3 garrison where they have 7 unit cards, right? They have like 1 retinue commander, captain, plus like a full retinue, and you run 3 generals in, and then you delegate that for a win pretty easily, right? You get 10 instinct, 10 authority, reduce penalty, desire for higher office, and enable scare when commanding. Okay, so Protector of the 3 Realm, the really mythical one in my mind. Win a battle with 3 generals of the same type. So you run like Sentinel, 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 Commander, 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 that type of idea. Vanguard, 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 all cavalry maybe. And then you get 10 expertise, 10 authority, reduce penalty from desire for higher office, +3 morale. Honestly, these bonuses so far, pretty lackluster, except for the general who calms the wave. But then again, I only like it because I run a lot of range comps, so the 5% firing rate and the tower seems pretty good. And also, it's the only one that has no desire for higher office. And the last one's great, Master of the Hunt. Win a battle where one of your characters present has a rival that were among the defeated characters. So, 2 ways you can do this. Have a rivalry cross-faction, fight that battle, kill the enemy rival. Or have an internal rivalry, get one of them killed or defeated in the battle. And I think you can still trigger this. I'm not sure. But I think the with the enemy factions play more relevant. But the way it's phrased, like defeated characters, not defeated like side, makes me feel like if you can get them on the same side and have one of them die, you might still be able to trigger it. Not entirely sure. But what's good about this is it gives you poison arrow on own retinue, which is only available for bandit generals. So now you can have it on Hun armies without recruiting like a bandit character, which is quite nice. Resolve and instinct are all great stats. Ignore force penalties, not so much, but it's kind of like playing to the bandit role here. So these are all quite expensive, and the rewards is kind of iffy. I think if they had all been no desire for higher office, I think it would have been a lot better. I don't know why the other 4 are reduced penalty from desire for higher office, and you only have general who calms the wave being no desire. But anyways, this ends this patch rundown. We'll be back with our next part tomorrow, and we'll see you guys then. Bye.